Hi guys, welcome back to this channel. In this video, we are going to look at the topic input devices. Now, let's look at some input and output devices that you may be familiar with. But first of all, what is an input device? An input device is a device that allows data to be entered into the system, while an output device is a device that allows data to be showed to a user. So let's look at some input and output devices in a real life example. Okay, so we have keypad. So keypad allows numbers to be keyed in, number of items to be keyed in into the system. We have screen or monitor. So screen or monitor will be used to show the cost of item and other information about a product. We have printer. So the printer is an output device. It allows receipt to be printed. Then we have touch screen. A touch screen is an input device. So it allows selection of items by touching an icon. Then there is card reader, chip, and pin. So this allows reading of the customer's credit or debit card. And then there is also speaker, which is an output device. So it makes beeping sound every time a barcode is read correctly. But also it makes another sound if there's an error while reading the barcode. Now let's look at a barcode scanner. So a barcode scanner are common input devices that are used to read barcoded data. And these barcoded data are black and white lines. They are black and white lines with varying thickness. If you look at this barcode, you can see that it has black and white lines, and the width of each line varies. So the numbers 0 to 9, they are represented by a unique series of lines. And each digit is encoded using a unique pattern of bars. And if you notice in the diagram, you can see the guards bar. So these allow the computer to be able to scan the barcode correctly. Now let's look at how the barcode is interpreted. Okay, so there is a barcode digit pattern that is followed for every digit in a barcode. So if you can check any product you have, and then check the barcode. Now the barcode is splitted into half. Okay, into half. So we have a barcode consists of 12 digits plus extra 1 digit, which is the check digit. So this 12 digits is splitted into 2. Okay, for example, let's say we have this number on the left, we have this number on the right. Now, how is this number represented? So on the left side, the numbers on the left side, the pattern used is different, while the number on the right side, the pattern used is different. On the left side, the digit begins with a light bar. You can see all the digits begins with a light bar, while on the right side, the digit begins with a dark bar. So now look at this number. This is number 5. So because this is on the left side, so if we look at number 5, we can see number 5, we have 1 white, okay, and then we have 2 blacks. So we have 2 blacks, and then 3 white, then we have 1 black, and then 1 black. So let's look at 5 on this right side. We have 1 black, so this is 1 black, 2 white, 3 blacks, 2 white. So that is how the barcode digit pattern is used to represent each digit. Now, let's look at what happens when a barcode is scanned. So when you go to the supermarket and the barcode of a product is scanned, what happens? So first of all, the barcode is read by a red laser or red light. Okay, and this light is reflected back of the barcode. So the dark areas on the barcode refers little to no light, which allows the bars to be read. So the reflected light is read by the sensor called photoelectric cells. So as the laser or the light is scanned across the barcode, a pattern is generated, which is now converted into digital data. So this data allows the computer to understand the data from the barcode. For example, let's say we need to get number 3. So the pattern would be light, dark, 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 light, dark. So, and the light will be represented with 0 and dark will be represented with 1. So this is how the patterns are translated into digital data. Now let's look at what happens after the barcode is read. So let's use for example when you go to the supermarket and the cashier scan the barcode, what happens? So the first thing is that the computer system looks up the stock database. Remember, let's say the stock manager would have keyed in the number of products. So let's say the number of let's say a book that is entered into the system is 50. So when a customer purchases a product and the barcode is scanned, the system looks up this product in the database. So when this barcode number is found, the item record is pulled up. The item record is pulled up. So the price and the item details are sent back to the checkout. So meaning the name of the book, the price, and some other details are pulled out on the screen. Now, after a payment has been made, the number of stock is reduced by 1. Let's say a customer purchased 1 out of this product. So the 1 will be deducted. Every time a customer purchases, the number of products will be deducted. And the new value, which is 49, will now be written back into the record. So the record will be updated. And then the number of stock is compared to the reorder level. Now, reorder level basically is the level order where you would the manager needs to restock the products. So for example, let's say the reorder level is 10, meaning that when this product reaches number 10, more has to be purchased. So when the product reaches the reorder level, if it is less than or equal to this value, the stock items are automatically ordered. And once the order for more stocks is generated, a flag is added to the record to stop reordering, meaning that after an order has been placed, a flag has to be added so that the system does not continue to reorder. For example, if a customer purchases another one and it gets to 9, so the program is for the system to reorder. But because it has ordered once, so a flag has to be placed so that the system stops reordering. And when a new stock items arrive, the stock levels are updated in the database. Okay, so what are the advantages of barcode scanners to the management? Number 1, it is much more easier and faster to change the price on stock items. So whoever is in charge just need to go to the system and change the price of the item. Then it is better much better, more up-to-date sales information or trends, meaning that the stock manager can easily go to the computer system and check for the details. What's the stock level? What is the sales trend? Maybe this week people purchase this product more than the previous week. So no need to price every stock items on the shelves. There's no need to put the price of all the items on the shelves. So it allows for automatic stock control, just like I explained just now. So the products can, when the product is scanned, the system can automatically reorder more products when the product gets to a certain level. And it is possible to check customers' buying habits, meaning that for a customer, you can check what are the kinds of products these customers like purchasing. Now, let's look at the advantages to the customers using barcode. So, of course, it is faster checkout queues compared to the traditional or manual way of getting the details of the product and making payment. So it is much faster. Then errors in charging customers are reduced. If this needs to be done manually, the cashier can make mistake while charging the customer, can miscalculate. The customer is given an itemized bill. At the end of the payment, a bill is presented to the customer to see the product, the price of each product, the total of each product. This can be seen on the screen and on the receipt. Cost savings can be passed on to the customer. In a supermarket that gives their customer maybe a card, so that every time they purchase, then they can get points. So the customers can actually use those points to, redeem some rewards and purchase things from the supermarket. And then better track of sales by date. So food should be fresher. Okay, so if fresh produce are purchased, the stock manager can, track how long has this product been on the shelf, so as to know whether to take off the product on the shelf or just to know when the product is about to expire. So these are the advantages to customers. Okay, now let's look at QR. So QR means quick response code. So this is also an input device, and it's another type of barcode, okay, that is used to enter data into the system. So a QR consists of small squares pixels, and this QR can hold more information compared to a barcode scanner. A QR can hold up to 4,296 characters or up to 7,089 digits. So as more and more data is being added to the QR, the structure of the QR becomes more complex. The more data, the more complex the QR is. In a QR, you would find three large squares at the corners. So these three large squares, the function is for alignment, and the remaining small corner here, square at this corner, is used to ensure that the correct size and correct angle of the camera shot when the QR code is read. Now let's look at application of QR code. So thanks to smartphones, tablets, QR can be scanned anywhere, and common examples of these are advertising, giving automatic access to a website or contact phone number, storing boarding pass electronically. Now when you go to the airport, you can just present your QR, and this will be used to allow entrance. Now let's look at the advantages of QR code compared to a barcode. So a QR code can store more information than barcodes. Also, there is lower chance of error when data is being entered into the system. QR codes are easier to read because they don't need expensive laser or LED scanner like barcodes. And they can be read by smartphones, phone cameras, or tablets. Also, it is easy to transmit QR codes either as text messages or images. So nowadays, people can share a QR code with you and you can use that to make payments, transfer money to them. Also, it is possible to encrypt QR code, and this gives a better security. Now, the disadvantages of using QR code. So compared to barcode, there are more than one QR format that is available, and because there are more than one QR format that is available, it can create compatibility issues. Also, QR can be used to transmit malicious code, so it can be misused to spread malware. Now let's look at the new QR code. So there's the new QR code. The difference between this new QR code and the normal QR code is the image that is embedded in it. So this new QR code is also called frame QR code. It allows an image or graphics to be included inside the QR. So this allows for inclusions of logos or images inside the code, and this can be very useful when it comes to branding and advertising. So this makes QR code more versatile and visually appealing. Now let's look at digital cameras. Okay, so digital cameras are also devices that are used to take photos. Now let's see what happens when a photograph of an image is being taken. So looking at this image, okay, this is what you would find in a digital camera. Okay, now when the image is captured, when light passes through the lens, so light from a scene enters the camera through the lens. So the light hits the camera image sensor. The camera image sensor is the CCD. Now, when the camera hits the image sensor, this sensor is made up of millions of tiny light sensitive cells, and each tiny cell is called photodiodes. So they react to the light that hits it and produce an electric signal based on how bright the light is. So after it has produced an electric signal, this signal is then passed on to an ADC, analog to digital converter, which then turns them into digital values representing the brightness, how light or dark each pixel is, and then the colors by using filters for red, green, and blue light. So after the conversion has been done, then this data is now stored in the computer system. Now let's look at keyboards. So keyboards are also input devices, and they are the most common data entry method. They are used as input devices on a computer, tablet, mobile phones, and many other electronic items. Now, a keyboard can either be wired meaning that it uses USB connection, or it can be wireless. Also, it can even be virtual. For example, you can control your TV using your phone, your tablet. Now, frequently using a keyboard can actually cause what we call RSI, repetitive strain injury. So this is an injury that can occur in the hands and wrist. So to prevent this, we can use ergonomic keyboard. So ergonomic keyboard can help to overcome the issue of RSI. Now let's look at how the computer recognizes a letter that is pressed on the keyboard. So on the keyboard, there is a membrane or a circuit at the base of each keys. So when a key is pressed, for example, letter H is pressed, this will complete a circuit. So when a circuit has been completed, then the computer can determine which key has been pressed. How can the computer determine which key that is pressed? It can determine which key that is pressed by looking up at the corresponding ASCII code. So there's if you've taken the lesson character set, you know that we have ASCII code, and in that ASCII code table we have the binary number and the letters, alphabets. So each alphabet has its own binary code. So after this circuit has been completed, and the computer then looks at the ASCII table to get the corresponding binary number, and then this corresponding character then appears on the screen. So that is how computer recognizes a letter pressed on the keyboard. Now let's look at microphones. So microphones can either be built in or external, meaning that it can be inside your device, your computer, or it can be a separate device on its own that is connected to the system using USB or Bluetooth. So how does a microphone works? So when a sound is created, it causes the air to vibrate. Okay, so when it causes the air to vibrate and it goes into the microphone, then a diaphragm in the microphone picks up that sound. It picks up that sound and also begins to vibrate. Now, in the microphone, the copper coil is wrapped around a cone, and this cone is connected to the diaphragm. So as the diaphragm vibrates, the cone moves in and out. It moves in and out, causing the copper coil to move backwards and forwards. So when it moves backward and forward, what happens is that it generates what we call electric current. So, and then these electric currents are now sent to the computer, where a sound card converts the current into a digital signal, and then these digital signal can now be stored in the computer system. So that is how a microphone works. Now let's look at optical mouse. So an optical mouse is also an example of a pointing device. Okay, and it uses tiny cameras up to 1005 images per second. Unlike the old mechanical mouse, the optical mouse can work on virtually any surface. The old mechanical mouse require some form of surface for it to be used. So how does a mouse works? So a red light is reflects off a surface. This red light, when it is shone on the surface, then this light is bounced back. Okay, and the reflection is picked up by the CMOS, the sensor. So this sensor then generates an electric pulses to represent the reflected red light, and these pulses are then sent to a digital signal processor. Now, the processor can now work out the coordinates of the mouse on the changing image patterns. So as it moves, it works out the coordinates. So the computer can then move the on-screen cursor to the coordinates sent by the mouse. So based on the coordinates it receives, then the mouse changes position on the screen. Now, what are the benefits of using an optical mouse rather than a mechanical mouse? So compared to a mechanical mouse, there are no moving parts in an optical mouse, so it is more reliable. So for a mechanical mouse, the dirt can trap in a mechanical mouse. So because of the dirt that can be trapped in a mechanical mouse, an optical mouse is more better option to use. And then there's no need to have any special surface when using an optical mouse. Now, most optical mouse uses Bluetooth rather than using USB wired connection. Although this makes it more versatile. However, a wired mouse also has its own advantages. Number one, no signal is lost since there's a constant signal pathway because it uses wire, so there's not going to be any break in signal transmission. Also, it is cheaper to operate because there's no need to have a new batteries or to charge the batteries. And lastly, fewer environmental issues, meaning that there's no need to dispose of any old batteries. Now let's look at 2D and 3D scanners. So a scanner is a device that is used to convert text or images on papers into digital formats. And scanners can either be two-dimensional or three-dimensional. Now let's look at a 2D scanner. So a 2D scanner is a type of scanner that are very common and they are used for scanning text into editable documents, or it can be used to also scan an image, and then this image is now converted into an electronic format that can be stored in a computer system. Now, how does a 2D scanner works? So a paper is placed in the scanner and then a light is now shone onto the paper. So this light that is shown onto the paper reflects onto a sensor and it helps to determine the color of the text or image on the paper. And this information is used by the computer as an input to create a digital copy of the document. Now, computers are equipped with a software called OCR, Optical Character Recognition. Now, the function of this software is to allow converting of scanned text into editable documents. So if it is a scanned image, this can be stored as JPEG or PNG, any image format. So the scanned image can be edited or manipulated by importing it into a word processor. Now let's look at 3D scanners. So 3D scanners scans solid objects. So solid object means a real world object and produces a three-dimensional image. So we said that since solid objects have the X, Y, and Z coordinates, these scanner takes images to several points along these three coordinates. Now, what does the x, y, and z coordinate means? The x, y, and z coordinates refers to the positions in three-dimensional space. For example, the x refers to the left to right, which is horizontal, while the y refers to top to bottom, and then the z refers to front to back, which is used to know the depth of the image. So a digital image which represents the solid object is then formed. So that is how 3D scanners works. Now let's look at some applications of 3D scanners and 2D scanners. So 2D scanners are used at the airport to read passport, and they make use of OCR technology to produce digital image which represents the passport pages. For example, the OCR software is able to review the images and then select the text part and then automatically input this text into the correct fields of an existing database. Let's look at application of 3D scanners. So, a computed tomographic scanners are used to create a 3D image of a solid object. So, this is based on tomography technology, which basically builds up an image of a solid object through series of thin slices, meaning that when an object is to be created, let's say this is the object, this technology builds up the image by series of thin slices, meaning it goes slice by slice, slice by slice, until the object is created. Now let's look at touch screens. So touch screens are also input devices, and it can also be an output devices. Okay, so input devices means it can be used to enter data into the system, while the screen allows user to see the data on the system. So there are three types of touch screens that are common. We have the capacitive, the infrared, and the resistive. So the resistive is the most common method, that is common touch screen that is used now. Now, the capacitive touchscreen. So it composes of three layers. Okay, we have the protective layer, the conductive layer, and the glass substrate. So human skin is a conductor of electricity. So when our bare fingers touches the screen, okay, then the electrostatic field of the conductive layer is changed, and the installed microcontroller is able to calculate where this change took place and then determines the coordinates of the point of touching. So that is capacitive. Now, infrared touchscreens. So infrared touchscreen uses a glass screen with an array of sensors and infrared transmitters. What are the advantages compared to the other touchscreens? So number one, it allows multi-touch facilities, meaning that it allows two touch, meaning two fingers, okay, to operate the touchscreen at the same time. It also has good screen durability. The operability isn't affected by scratch or cracked screen, meaning that when there's a scratch or crack on the screen, we can still make use of the device. Now, what are the disadvantages? The screen can be sensitive to water or moisture, meaning that when it comes in contact with water, then the water can actually control or input data through the touchscreen. It is also possible to accidentally activate, meaning that it's possible for accidental activation to take place if the infrared beams are distributed in some way. Also, sometimes it is sensitive to light interference, meaning that when it comes in contact with light, then this light can interfere with the signals. Okay, let's look at resistive touchscreen. So it's a type of touchscreen that displays the works by detecting the pressure that is applied on the screen, meaning that to use this type of touchscreen, you need to apply much pressure for data to be input into the system. And these touchscreens are made up of two layers of electrically resistive materials with voltage. Let's look at the advantages and disadvantages compared to other touchscreen. Number one advantage is that it is good resistance to dust and water, meaning that even though it comes in contact with dust or water compared to infrared, the water or dust will not be able to input data into the system. Then it can be used with bare fingers, stylus, and gloved hand. The disadvantages: it has low touch sensitivity, meaning that to input data, a pressure needs to be applied before data can be entered into the system. It doesn't support multi-touch while using the screen. Then there's also issue of poor visibility when the sunlight is strong. And lastly, it is vulnerable to scratch on the screen because the screen is made up of polymer. So these are the disadvantages and advantages of touchscreen. Okay, and that's all for this lesson. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe.